Honestly, Tiki, I'm numb. I'm just numb. Yesterday, the Mets ran us over with a car. We were damaged. We had a broken leg. Some of us said it's not that big of a deal. Calm down. My leg isn't really broken.
Got Devin Williams.
Then they ran us over and killed us today.
No. They backed up and ran over you again.
That's right.
Then put it forward and ran over you a third time.
Yes, we got run over 5 times. Congratulations. Pete Alonso is now a former New York Met as he is signing with the Baltimore Orioles on a 5-year, $155 million offer. If you're going to call up today and tell me, the Mets are so smart, they're so brilliant, why would you give that overrated bum, that doofy bum, a 5-year contract? You can save it. Because what I believed, and I'm wrong, I'm an idiot, what I believed is that when Steve Cohen bought this team, events like yesterday and events like today would not happen. That even if you had to go into an uncomfortable territory like giving a 30 to 31-year-old player a 5-year contract, you would do it anyway. I thought that the owner who grew up as a Met fan, who had more money than God, wouldn't let this happen. I thought that the team president who grew up as a Met fan and had some sentimentality wouldn't let this happen. And they let it happen. And they let it happen on back-to-back days. Mm-hmm. So how do I feel today as a Met fan? I'm pissed. I'm angry. I'm sad. I'm devastated. They didn't just let a lifelong Met walk away. They also let a player who gives them the best chance to win walk away. And that's the common denominator between yesterday and today. It's not just all emotions. It's not just all, he's my favorite player, or I buy his jersey, or my kid likes him. Sure, that's a factor. But the ultimate factor is they let the most reliable slugger in baseball walk out that door. They let the best closer in baseball walk out that door. And the part that pisses me off is I got to hear that they never made an offer because it was too rich for them. It was too much for them. Every team is idiots for offering Pete Alonso a 5-year contract because David Stearns and Steve Cohen know so much more than everyone else. Here's what I know that they know. They have been to the postseason 2 times, Steve, really, since he got here. So you're not as smart as you think you are. You're not as brilliant as you think you are. So you let Pete walk, you let Edwin walk, and right now as a Met fan, and again, I think I speak for most people, whether I'm irrational or not, I don't care. This sucks. 2 straight days. The Wilpots never gave us 2 straight days like this. And now Cohen and Stearns, this administration, this tyrannical group of guys, have told Met fans, go F yourself 2 days in a row.
Well, you know that in time, it will get better. That's the one thing you can look forward to.
Because it can't get worse.
Well, exactly. It can't get any worse. What else are you going to do? Trade Francisco Lindor? I mean, hell, the way it's going now, maybe they do that. You know in time it will get better. And you also know that in time you will find out what the actual plan is. I'm not even going to try to talk you off the ledge today. I'm not even going to try to rationalize this because it doesn't make any sense. We'll go through and look through our bingo that we did, free agent bingo. I always thought Pete was going to come back. Not only because he's the most reliable slugger in baseball, as you just mentioned, but you need a guy on your team who every bit of the fan base relates to and gets. Homegrown from the very beginning, from his rookie of the year to breaking Darryl Strawberry's record last season. Pete Alonso was the Met that every fan related to. Even if you were annoyed by him at times, he was yours. He was your annoyance. Now you don't have that. And it feels like David Stearns, and I guess with the blessing of Steve Cohen, is remaking the Mets in his image. And that could be a good thing. It could be a bad thing. That's for a latter evaluation. Right now, you're right, though, Evan. This sucks. It sucks because you're losing a lot of people's favorite player.
And he's
losing, not done. It's not like he's done. It'd be different if he was 35 years old and it was like, yeah, it sucks. He still wants to play. We can't give him that contract. Good luck. You had 15 great years here. That's not what we're talking about.
But they're also losing really good players. The Mets are coming off a season in which they won 83 games. And you know who wasn't really responsible for the Met collapse? Edwin Díaz and Pete Alonso. I would argue they were 2 of their most valuable players from this previous season. And they're out the door. Mm-hmm. So that's why I know there's a balance between the sentimentality that I sometimes have and a lot of Met fans have, but there's also the baseball sense that you got worse. Your job just became more difficult. And what annoys me is that I get that 5 years is risky. I want to make that clear. He's 30, 31 years old. He's getting older. It's 5 years. It's a long time. It's $30 million a year. I understand the risks. But I thought, and I guess this is where I've got to learn better, that maybe I was conned, or maybe I conned myself. I thought that with a billionaire owner, you'll take those risks. Mm-hmm. You'll take that risk that year 4 may not be pretty, or year 5 may not be pretty. Like, forever, whenever I heard fans say, oh, you can't go more than 3 years, I would always say, why? Like, why is that? Like, I understood last year. The Mets played a tough game with Pete Alonso. They were tough. They said, why would we give you 5? No one's offering you 3. Mm-hmm. And the Mets played hardball last year, and they won. This year they played hardball, and there were clearly teams that were willing to go 4 or 5 years, as we saw with the Orioles. Why not be willing to get a little uncomfortable? Because what we're learning about David Stearns is that he doesn't like getting uncomfortable. Well, in free agency, and sometimes with your own players, you have to get uncomfortable. I know Yankee fans don't want to hear this because I know you guys are mad right now at Brian Cashman, and we'll eventually address that. Mm-hmm. Do you think Brian Cashman wanted to go 8 years with Max Fried? Or did he realize,
no,
I got to get a little uncomfortable here?
No, we're also mad at David Stearns because now Pete Alonso is our problem.
Well, that's another story. But sometimes you have to get uncomfortable. So for any Met fan today or a baseball fan who chimes in and says, but Evan, you're usually reasonable. You think 5 years is smart? Dude, it's free agency.
Yeah.
Sometimes you've got to do uncomfortable things. And David Stearns and Steve Cohen over the last few days, they haven't done that.
Yeah.
And now they've lost 2 key players that they need to replace. I know they've already technically replaced Edwin Díaz with Devin Williams. We'll get into that later. But how do you replace a guy in Pete who plays every game, who hits 35, 40, 45 home runs a year?
You don't.
How do you do that?
Well, Schwarber, but he's not available any longer. So Cody Bellinger, maybe. I mean, there's answers out there, but the question is, are they going to go do it?
I want to be respectful about Cody Bellinger. He is not Pete Alonso, and I'm so sick and tired of people telling me he is.
But
he's not.
He can mitigate it if he should sign with the New York Mets. But that is neither here nor there. Let me pivot this in just a slightly one way or the other. When you think about paying guys and overpaying them, I guess is the case in this case, because they're free agents. You always overpay in free agency. The mantra is you can overpay a guy if it's going to help you win a championship. Max Fried with the New York Yankees, give him 8 years. Yes, it's an overpay ultimately, but the Yankees are always in the postseason, and he could help you win a championship. Do you think the Mets, David Stearns, Steve Cohen, are looking at this team, looking at the National League and saying, we're not close enough to getting to a championship. Therefore, it doesn't make sense.
So they're giving up? They're rebuilding? They're unloading?
I mean,
is that what you're telling me?
What else can you say? Because isn't this what this looks like? It looks like a rebuild. It doesn't look like we're trying to win right now.
They traded for Marcus Semien.
Exactly.
They traded for a 35-year-old second baseman. They're rebuilding now?
I mean,
that's what they're doing?
It got rid
They
of...
signed Devin Williams to a 3-year contract. That's rebuilding?
It got rid of Brandon Nimmo's contract.
I got you. The last 2 years of Brandon Nimmo's contract.
Right. My point is, you go get, if you're the Dodgers, you go get Mookie Betts. You pay Shohei Ohtani whatever the hell you want, whatever he wanted. And defer 3/4 of it. You go get Yamamoto. You go get all these guys. You sign Edwin Díaz. They're trying to win now.
Right.
And the reason that you can justify whatever the cost is that once you win, it kind of starts to pay for itself.
Of course.
So if you're the Mets, are you not also thinking, and maybe this is the answer, they don't think that they're in the championship window.
So what does that mean for the rest of the offseason? Based on that logic, then they're not doing anything else. Which I don't think is the case. Like, I expect that they're going to spend. I expect that they're going to make additions.
We'll see.
Well, no, you're right, we'll see. Because obviously if they don't, then we can circle back and say, maybe you were right.
I don't think that right now. If you overpay Pete and you don't win a championship, was it worth it?
Well, my answer would be yes for a myriad of reasons. And I'll go through a couple of them. Number one, this owner, Steve Cohen, who came in here with his beautiful money and these big dreams and promises. Steve Cohen called all of us out last year. He said, show up to my ballpark. I just spent money.
Right.
And we did. The Mets drew amazing numbers last year. Do you think as of right now, and obviously there is more time to go in this offseason, and eventually today we'll emotionally get to the point of talking about what they should do next? because it isn't over, even though it feels like we just got run over by a truck, and as you said, it got pulled over us 5 times? Do you expect people is showing up?
I mean,
the answer's no.
Didn't they already have to renew their season tickets?
Well, and a lot of people didn't because they raised ticket prices.
Yeah, okay.
And also a lot of how they draw is based on people showing up to games or buying tickets in advance. So as of right now, after this owner had the balls to tell us, show up to the ballpark, I spent money, what about you? This is what's happened so far. So I don't think they're rebuilding. You're not the first to say this. Hoff said this to me last night on the Rico. My dad even texted it to me. It sounds that. I don't believe that's what's going on. What I believe is going on is they think they are smarter than everyone else. And David Stearns, with his smug smiles like, Pete Alonso, we'd love him on 3 years, but, 5 years. Like, we're not going to do that. Just like last year. Same thing with Edwin Díaz. They were smug and arrogant in the negotiations with Edwin Díaz to the point where Edwin didn't even want to come back.
Yeah.
We could take that story however you want. The Mets will spin it and say, well, Edwin didn't want to come back. I like to ask why. What do you think happened? Maybe it was something you did. So as of right now, and we are in the midst of an offseason, and I admit we are in the midst of the most painful offseason of my Met fandom. It doesn't mean it's going to end painfully. I'm just telling you that as of today, when you're looking at back-to-back days, screw Nimmo, by the way. Nothing against him. I didn't like the trade. I got it.
It is what it is.
Pivoted. It's different, right?
Strategic, you can understand it down the line. It makes sense.
It's a baseball trade, right? And we can argue it all day, but it's a trade. They just lost Edwin Díaz to the Dodgers. They did not make an offer to the greatest slugger in their franchise's history. That's happened in 48 hours. That's what we're enduring right now as Met fans. And so there are so many reasons to be upset. I actually kind of want to cry. I believe it or not.
Instead of scream and yell like you did yesterday.
Yes. I'm more in a crying mood today than a screw you kind of mood.
You're restarting your stages of grief.
Yes. And here's the good news. I know that people need screaming and anger and pain. So later today, at 4 o'clock, Joe Beningo will join the show.
They better sign Pete. Well, sorry, Joe.
And every piece of anger that I'm not supplying the Met fan, you will get from Joe at 4 o'clock. Oh, by the way, we have a big announcement at 3. I forgot about that. We'll get to that as well. Big announcement. I'm not even underselling that. It's really, really big. But this has been 2 of the most painful days in my Met fandom. And I get, Tiki, that this could end well. I understand that. I'm not an idiot. I know they could sign this guy, that guy, this guy. They could win 100 games next year. And if that's the case, like I said to you yesterday, I'd love to replay the audio and laugh at myself. But today, I want to make this clear so everyone knows. The most reliable slugger, the greatest slugger we've had since Darryl Strawberry left. And I didn't really know the day-to-day operations of Darryl leaving. But what my dad always told me and Beningo always told me was, Frank Cashin really didn't want him back. Well, guess what? We're recreating it 35 years later because these guys who are so much smarter than us, we're a bunch of minions, right? We're idiots. We should just shut up and listen to the billionaire owner and the brilliant Ivy League president. They know better than us.
Yeah.
And they allowed him to leave without ever making an offer. And for the record, I don't care how dumb it sounds, I would have matched that offer. Because my point is,
$31 million a year.
They just paid him that.
Yeah, but it was for a year.
So 5 years is too much.
Apparently,
what has Pete shown you where he's breaking down? Is there any evidence of that?
No, I don't think it's a breakdown thing. To me, this feels like what you were alluding to with the Mets with Darryl Strawberry. They didn't want him. They didn't want Pete Alonso any longer. I don't know why. I'm sure at some point, David Stearns is going to have to answer that question because you don't just say, well, we got outbid without making a bid. They could have offered less than what the Orioles were offering, and Pete could have said, you know what, I want to stay. Aaron Judge did the exact thing when the San Diego Padres offered him more than what the Yankees were going to offer him, but they had a conversation, and he ended up staying for what we believe was less money. How do we know that that didn't happen? By not making an offer, you're saying we didn't want you. And until you find out the reason why, you're not going to accept the fact that he's not here.
I also feel stupid. We all should feel stupid because when we look back at this journey from the beard being grown to the negotiations to maybe trading him to not trading him to the negotiations where they keep him to the standoff to Amazing Day to the year he just, that's everything. Wasn't this day inevitable? Wasn't this day almost obvious for 2.5 years? Wasn't the moment that Pete Alonso fired his agent and went to Scott Boras this day an inevitability?
Yep.
And so I kind of deep down probably felt it and thought it. But even last night, as I was slumbering, I put my head down on a pillow. I was thinking about the day that was. And I thought about Pete Alonso. I thought about Kyle Schwarber. And I thought about the contract he got with the Phillies and how the Orioles made a 5-year offer. And I even said this to you yesterday. This is a terrible sign. I think all of you said the odds of them keeping Pete were higher yesterday. I thought it was worse. And the reason I thought it was worse is because if the Orioles made a 5-year offer for Schwarber, why wouldn't they make one for Pete?
Yeah.
And as I put my head down on the pillow, even though I knew and we all knew there was that little hope that this owner and this team president, because supposedly they're diehard fans, would step up and they would do something a little bit uncomfortable. Just go a little bit further than maybe they were willing. Get a little stupid. Sometimes it's okay to be stupid. Sometimes it's okay to go a little bit further than what you intend. And they didn't do it. And they let us all down. And I don't feel bad in saying this to David Stearns and Steve Cohen. You have something to prove to us now. You have something to prove to us. You built a team that won 83 games and collapsed. You are now putting a wrecking ball to that team. Okay, your job. We can scream and yell about it. We're just a bunch of minions on talk radio and social media. Screw us. Now, what are you going to do about it?
Yeah.
Now that you've torn it apart, and you're going to get all the hate from us. Eventually, we'll calm down. We're suckers. We'll be back in the ballpark. Maybe not as often as you want, but we'll be in the ballpark. What are you going to do about it to make this team better? And that's how they're going to be defined. But right now, spare me on how you should trust them.
Yeah.
I don't trust them.
Here's what it also feels like. Steve Cohen's owned this team for, what, 5 years?
Yes.
Yeah, bought it in 2020. 2021 was his first year running.
2021's first year. They won 77 games, 101 games, 75 games, 89 games, 83 games. And they've spent a ton of money collectively over that 5-year span. They've gotten to one NLCS, and they got wiped out by the Dodgers. Do you not think that Steve Cohen, who is a businessman first, and again, I'm just trying to find an excuse, is a businessman first, is saying, this isn't working. I'm not going to keep throwing good money after bad because that's not how I've ever made money in my life. It's not how I've ever found success in my life. And so as emotionally distraught as this might make my fan base, I have to do something different.
So my counter to this, because what you're saying is very similar to the old line that was given to Ralph Kiner many years ago. Ralph Kiner, of course, the legendary broadcaster, was a slugger for the Pittsburgh Pirates. And he went into the front office's office and said, I'd like a raise. And they said, well, Ralph, we lost 90 games. And Ralph's like, well, but I had 50 home runs or whatever he did. And the GM said, we can win or we can lose 90 games with you or we can lose 90 games without you. And that's an opinion that people have over last year's Mets. And basically, it's what you just said.
Yes.
My counter to you is you watched every game. You were invested in the Mets last year. Don't you think that the reason they even got to 83 wins was that they had Edwin Díaz and they had Pete Alonso? So taking away two of your best players from, yes, a team that failed, but it doesn't make you better. It makes you worse.
See, this is a problem. Met fans don't want to hear this, but from a business standpoint, it's not about the individual. It's about the money. It's about the business of this. And that's what this is. That's the only reason you can explain it. Because everything you're saying about Pete Alonso is right. Everything we know about Pete Alonso shows that he's going to be viable and good for even if he is just DHing and not playing first base for the next at least 3 and maybe 4 years. And so who cares if you're paying him for 5 years or 4 years? They didn't make an offer. They didn't want him. And to me, that screams this was a business decision, not a we don't like Pete decision.
We will hear from Met fans coming up, 888-808-1019. Big announcement coming up at 3, the great Joe Beningo at 4. And how Pete Alonso has accomplished something today that I don't think has ever been done in New York Met and maybe New York baseball history.